a great time to be in psychedelic research, particularly in 2026, when some of the larger companies are putting their applications in to the FDA later this year, and we'll see some outcome in 2027. Okay, so psychedelic science has entered a new phase of maturity. That's what I mean, with regulatory, clinical neuroscientists converging on a more evidence-driven framework for therapeutic use. Large-scale neuroimaging analysis have clarified how compounds such as psilocybin, MDMA, reshape the brain network dynamics, strengthening, which I believe, the plausibility, the biological plausibility of their role in treating depression, whether that's major depressive disorders or treatment-resistant depression. PTSD is also a fascinating area, and addiction. Addiction seems to be popping up with psychedelics. At the same time, for me, what's really fascinating is that regulatory bodies, such as the FDA, are sharpening their expectation. So you may have seen that the recent FDA guidance came out a number of weeks ago. And what they've done is they've pushed the sponsors towards a more rigorous trial design, enhancing safety monitoring and strategies to mitigate the functional unblinding that we see particularly in clinical trials. There are parallel advances in psychotherapy models towards structured, multidisciplinary approaches to psychedelic-assisted treatment. That's very important. Together, these developments, the FDA, the neuroimaging, the plausibility, the psychedelic-assisted therapy, right, marks a transition into a more disciplined, clinically grounded area in this field. I've been monitoring quite a lot of companies that are developing psychedelics. There are several companies are now closest to bridging psychedelic-based treatments to the market, and we'll talk about how these will impact the market with late-stage clinical data and major pharmaceutical companies backing and strengthening their commercial position. So let's take Compass Pathway. Compass Pathway is quite advanced. It's nearing the FDA submission for its synthetic psilocybin for the treatment-resistant depression, following 2 positive phase 3 readouts. This positions psilocybin as one of the first psychedelic candidates likely to reach a regulatory review, and I think they're targeting end of this year or early 2027. That's why I said 2026 is quite an important time. There is another company called Atai-Beckley. Atai-Beckley was recently acquired by Eli Lilly for $3.8 billion, and it centers around their BPL-003, which is a DMT-based nasal spray for treatment-resistant depression. This is one of the most commercially backed psychedelic programs in the world, so I'm pretty confident that with the backing of Eli Lilly and the data that came out with the BPL drug, this is going to be quite a major breakthrough. Then we have Definium Therapeutics. Definium Therapeutics reported a robust phase 3 data on their LSD compound, placing LSD-based therapeutics into late-stage development with credible regulatory momentum. Then we have Helus, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Helus Pharma, formerly known as Cybin. They're advancing their short-acting serotonergic agonist, including their SPL-026 and also their HLP-004, with positive phase 2 results and a commercial-ready posture across multiple regions. Then we have other companies coming out like Ramalda, like Alto Neurosciences, like Axome Therapeutics, all developing CNS targeting psychedelic adjuncts or serotonergic modulation compounds with phase 2-3 data and growing investor confidence. The other company that we don't hear much of is Shoona. It is much closer than many people realize, and the latest data shows that they are now one of the most advanced non-profit developers in the psychedelic space. Their position has materially strengthened by an active phase 3 execution, breakthrough therapy designation, and commercial scale readiness, which means companies closest to the market are those with phase 3 data. Clear regulatory pathways, as I've said before, the FDA have put together a very robust, clear pathway for psychedelic research, and we've seen major pharma investment. For example, we've seen Eli Lilly and Atai, we've seen Otsuka and Mindset, and also other compounds that they have in development as well. So major pharmaceutical investment. Psilocybin, we talked about Compass, DMT-based therapies like Atai, Beckley, and Lilly, and LSD-derived treatments like Definium are currently the strongest contenders for the first to market status. So watch this space. Back, what happens when the FDA or the EMEA or the MHRA approve these psychedelics to be used in the market, basically. So there's a lot of work to be done, and this is going to be quite a little bit of a longer section here. To be genuinely market ready for psychedelic therapeutics, you or we need to demonstrate not just scientific validity, but regulatory capability and regulatory credibility, operational readiness, and commercial scalability, and that's very important. The field is moving fast. I know Compass and other companies nearer to their approvals are now developing the market space. So the field is moving fast, but regulators are now demanding discipline, structure, and reproducibility. Here's what a fully, in my opinion, market-ready posture looks like for sponsors or clinical development organizations. So, number one, regulatory readiness. That's very important. Phase 3 grade evidence. The companies need to demonstrate clear efficacy signals. We talk about durability of response and well-characterized safety across a diverse population. That's very important. We need to mitigate what I call functional unblinding. We need a formal strategy, active placebo, expectancy management, blinded raters, and independent assessors. So we really need to mitigate that functional unblinding that besieges most of the clinical trials. Then what we need is therapeutic model standardization. What do I mean by that? Regulatory now expects a manualized, reproducible psychotherapy protocol rather than supportive therapy. We've talked about, in my past comments, do we need therapy? Do we need assistance? Do we need facilitators? Do we need attendants? And that's something the market or needs to think about. How are these therapy models going to be standardized across regions and across states as well? The other key thing which the FDA and I'm sure the regulatory bodies are concerned about is a robust safety monitoring, meaning cardiovascular, psychological, post-session follow-up framework that meets the FDA, the EMEA, and the MHRA expectation. The other area that I think about is CMC, the chemistry, manufacture, and control maturity, meaning GMP grade manufacturing, stability data, impurity profiling, and validated release specifications for psychedelic compounds. The second area we need to look at is clinical operational infrastructure. It's a lot of words, and again, it talks about therapy, training pipeline. We need to make sure we have the credentials, the standardization, the scalable training with competency assessments. That's very important. Session room infrastructure. We've seen in clinical trials, we develop a space where individuals, participants can have their psychedelic event. That's something we need to look at. Do we need an infrastructure or a consistency in the way we build these rooms, like purpose-built dosing rooms, monitoring equipment. We also need emergency protocols and environmental controls for SOPs. And then there's another area called data capture systems, high resolution digital capture of therapy notes, session recordings, if used, and outcome measures. And finally, patient journey design. That's very important. We screen the patient or the participant or the subject. We then do the preparation, then we do the dosing, and then we do the integration, and then follow up. What we need to do is have a consistent way of looking at the participant journey design and looking at clear timelines as well as risk mitigation steps. The third area that we need to look at is something called commercial and market access preparation. Health economic modeling, that's very important because a lot of the payers want to know, is it payable? Is it cost effectiveness? We need to look at analysis showing the value versus, other treatments like SSRIs, ketamine, ECT, or even psychotherapy. So that's what I mean about health economic modeling. Then the other area, and again, I'm not the expert on it, it's pricing and reimbursement strategy. Payer-ready dossiers, including therapist time, facility cost, and integration session economics as well. That's something a lot of the companies would need to look for. And then we look at something called the scalable delivery model. And that means whether via a specialist center or a franchised clinics or hospital-based service is the right place for having these people come and have their psychotherapy or their psychedelic treatment. And then there's something called stakeholder education. We need to educate clinicians who have not experience in psychedelics, payers, regulators, patient groups need clear evidence-based communication as well. So that's very much about education on all factors that are dealing with people who are being given these psychedelics. The fourth area is risk, compliance, and governance. And what that means is ethics and safeguarding frameworks. What does that mean? Clear boundaries, dual therapist models, and misconduct prevention protocols. That's very important. Then there's something called cultural competence integration. Regulators increasingly expect sensitivity to diverse patient backgrounds as well. And finally, with regards to risk compliance and governance, is real-world evidence plan. Okay, post-marketing surveillance, registries, and long-term follow-up. The other area we need to look at is when is the second dose going to happen. It's just not one dose, it's the second dose. And that's what I mean about real-world evidence. We've seen one dose has a durability of effect. When does the second, or when does the third, or when does the follow-up happen? And that's something we've not fully kind of investigated. The last and the final fifth point is strategic positioning. And again, I'm not a marketer, I'm a scientist. What sponsors need to do is look at differentiation. What makes your psychedelic treatment safer, more scalable, more cost-effective, or more clinically predictable? And that's something we need to look at current therapies and current psychological treatments that are out there already. And there's something called partnership ecosystem. CROs, therapist training organization, digital health partners, etc., manufacturing lines. All of that needs to be thought about. And then my final point in this session is really regulatory science engagement. What we need is early, and I'm sure Compass, Definium, Usona, Atai Beckley, Lilly, Otsuka, etc., are looking at early scientific advice meetings with the FDA, with the MHRA, shaping their expectation before the submission. I'm sure that's happening now. Okay, just to summarize this Q&A session here, for me the bottom line is market readiness in psychedelics is no longer about enthusiasm or early stage data. It's about rigor, it's about reproducibility, it's about operational maturity. Organizations that can demonstrate disciplined trial design, structured therapy models, and scalability of delivery infrastructure will be the first, really, in my opinion, to cross the regulatory finish line. And I'm sure my colleagues in Compass and other companies are already speaking to the regulatories and the marketing access folks about that.